Not in the slightest. I mean, it was obvious and certain if you go to the people, ask for a mandate and backing in a national referendum and you lose, you cannot continue as Prime Minister. To me, that's obvious. And the Chancellor will have to go the same way, incidentally. He's got no credibility either. And many members of the government. You know, this is a far-reaching decision that's been made, but the people of England have rejected their case by a margin of 6%, and that must be respected. These people have no credibility and they don't belong in government.
Clear majority has voted for us to come out of it. We want to be, instead of being grumpy tenants that we've been... I have to say I was a bit surprised, but he's obviously made the decision he's made. Look, what's really important is that we recognise the fact that 17.5 million people, more votes than elected any government since the Second World War, have made this choice. We are going to leave the European Union, but at the same time we're going to take into account the fact that on the other side there were some 15.5 million people or 16 million people who thought differently. We're going to leave the European Union, but we need to create a new consensus that takes into account some of the legitimate points that good, decent people on the Remain side were making.
Of our existing membership, and so I really fear entirely openly, and it was justified and explained. What people overwhelmingly voted on, actually in this referendum, was not the European Union at all. I'm not saying the British people love the European Union, they're very sceptical of it, but care about it that much to leave it? No. Their passions and emotions were stirred up utterly irresponsibly by the Leave campaign over immigration.
This was the environmentalists for Europe. We wanted to get this message across. Well, we've still got a huge amount to do. As far as I'm concerned, I would have preferred, obviously, if the Remain camp had won, because we've been fighting very hard, for example, to make sure that the environmental achievements of the EU get a proper recognition. We don't want to see them diluted. We don't want to see them diminished. Now, okay, so now we have to think of a different way of doing it. We have to be sure that whatever government takes on now really puts an effort into environmental policy, and we need to find ways of making sure that the UK professionalism on environmental matters still is felt in an international situation. It may not be through the EU, but we have to continue to work on that sort of thing.
Have you spoken to your son since the result?
No, but I have sent a text. I've sent 2 texts, and it is very irritating because both of them now say unable to deliver these texts, or maybe I'm not pressing the right send button or whatever. It's extremely irritating. I'm going to have another go in a moment. All the good things which happen, including the environmental things. Now, the more
Should Cameron leave?
Good God, yes.
Now?
Well, by about 10 o'clock, I'd say, would be about right.
Well, he's get back.
How can he, having told us that leaving the EU would lead to recession or perhaps war, credibly stay in the job to help fulfil the wishes of 17 million people? I don't see it.
So Boris for President, Prime Minister?
I don't care who it is, as long as we have a Brexit government committed to fulfilling the will of the people and opening us up to being a global trading nation. That's what matters, because that brings more jobs, more trade, more prosperity.
Okay. Are you seeing me now? Yeah, okay.